History remembers the victors, the innovators, the leaders who shaped our world. But what if the history we've been taught is incomplete? What if some of the most groundbreaking contributions to science, technology, and leadership have been systematically erased, their authors intentionally forgotten? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the stories you were never told. We're giving credit where it's long overdue. These are the forgotten women who built our modern world, who led armies, and who shattered every expectation, only to have their legacies buried by the sands of time. Let's start in the golden age of Hollywood with a face known to millions. Hedy Lamarr was more than just a silver screen siren celebrated for her beauty. Beneath the glamour was a mind of breathtaking brilliance, a mind that would change the way we communicate forever. During World War II, horrified by the Nazi threat, she dedicated her nights to a secret project. Working with composer George Antheil, she developed a secret communication system to guide torpedoes accurately without being jammed. The technology was called frequency-hopping spread spectrum. The US Navy dismissed it at the time, but decades later, that same core principle became the foundation for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. One of the most beautiful women in the world was also one of its most important inventors, a military genius hidden in plain sight. Her invention now connects billions, a silent, revolutionary impact from a voice that was never meant to be heard in a lab. Now, let's travel much further back to ancient Alexandria, a beacon of knowledge in a fading world. Here lived a woman named Hypatia. She was a brilliant mathematician, astronomer, and philosopher, the head of the Neoplatonic school, teaching ideas that challenged the rigid doctrines of the rising political powers. Her mind was a threat. She wasn't just a scholar. She was an influential public figure who refused to be silenced, and for that, she was brutally murdered by a mob, her library burned, her legacy systematically erased. Her death is seen by many historians as the symbolic end of classical antiquity, a devastating blow to intellectual freedom. It was a clear, violent message. A woman with a powerful mind was a dangerous thing. Centuries later, in Qing Dynasty China, another woman defied the rules. Wang Zhenyi was an astronomer, mathematician, and poet in an era where women were confined to the home. She taught herself trigonometry and calculus, writing papers that made complex concepts accessible to everyone. She accurately documented lunar eclipses and explained how the solar system worked, even demonstrating it with a model in her garden pavilion. She broke every gender norm, boldly writing, "Don't they know that daughters can also be heroic?" Wang Zhenyi didn't just study the stars. She fought for a woman's right to an education, leaving behind a legacy of both scientific rigor and fierce advocacy that challenged the foundations of her society. Imagine writing a computer program a century before the first computer was even built. That was the reality for Ada Lovelace, the daughter of the poet Lord Byron. She was pushed towards mathematics by her mother to avoid her father's poetic insanity. Working with Charles Babbage on his theoretical analytical engine, Ada saw something no one else did. While Babbage saw a machine for calculations, Ada envisioned a future where it could create music, art, and anything that could be translated into digital code. She wrote what is now recognized as the world's first computer algorithm. She wasn't just a mathematician. She was a prophet of the digital age. Her poetical science laid the conceptual groundwork for the device you're watching this on right now. Now, a story of quiet injustice. Think about an essential, everyday product, the sanitary pad. Who do we thank for it? The name you should know is Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner, an African-American inventor. She created an adjustable sanitary belt with a moisture-proof napkin pocket in the 1920s. It was a revolutionary improvement for women's health and hygiene. But when a company showed interest and discovered she was black, they rejected it. She held the patent for 30 years, but never made a single penny from her brilliant, life-changing invention. She died in obscurity, her contribution almost completely erased. A stark reminder of how prejudice can rob an inventor of not just their fortune, but their place in history. In ancient Athens, it was illegal for women to practice medicine. If caught, the punishment was death. But a woman named Agnodice saw the suffering of her fellow women, who often died in childbirth rather than be seen by a male doctor. So she made a radical choice. She cut her hair, disguised herself as a man, and studied medicine in Alexandria. Returning to Athens, she became the city's most sought-after physician, especially for women. When jealous male doctors accused him of seducing his patients, she was forced to reveal her identity in court. The women of Athens, her patients, rushed to her defense, protesting and demanding she be allowed to practice. The law was overturned. Agnes wasn't just the first female doctor in Athens. She was a revolutionary who used disguise to fight an unjust system and won. Let's move to the Mongol Empire, where a warrior princess became a legend. Kutulun, the great-great-granddaughter of Genghis Khan, was a formidable fighter. Her father, a powerful Khan, relied on her military advice and prowess in battle. But she was most famous for her vow. She would only marry a man who could defeat her in a wrestling match. If he lost, he had to give her 100 horses. One by one, suitors tried and failed. She was never defeated. By the end, she had amassed an army's worth of 10,000 horses. Kutulun wasn't a prize to be won. She was an undefeated champion who chose her own destiny, a symbol of power and independence that defied every norm of her time. Everyone knows the story of Paul Revere's Midnight Ride. But did you know about the teenage girl who rode twice as far through a more dangerous route to rally American militias? Her name was Sybil Ludington. On a stormy night in 1777, the 16-year-old daughter of a colonel rode 40 miles through the dark to warn of an impending British attack. Her ride was pivotal in gathering the forces that pushed the British back. Yet, while Revere was immortalized in a poem, Sybil's heroism was largely forgotten, a footnote in the story of the American Revolution. She was a child who did the work of a hero, a courageous ride into the night that history almost completely ignored. The name Mozart immediately brings one person to mind, Wolfgang Amadeus. But there was another Mozart, his older sister, Maria Anna. By all contemporary accounts, she was his equal. A musical prodigy who toured Europe and dazzled audiences with her talent on the harpsichord. Her father once wrote, "My little girl plays the most difficult works which we have," with incredible precision. But when she came of age, her career came to a screeching halt. It was deemed improper for her to continue performing. She was forced to stop composing and fade into the background, forever overshadowed by her younger brother. We will never know what masterpieces the world lost when her music was silenced. In the 19th century, a Shaker community was buzzing with innovation. A woman named Tabitha Babbitt, a weaver, was watching men struggle with a traditional two-man pit saw. She noticed that half their motion was wasted. An idea struck her. What if the blade was a circle? She created a prototype and attached it to her spinning wheel, inventing the first circular saw. Because of her Shaker community's principles, she never patented it. The invention was stolen, patented by men, and went on to power the lumber industry worldwide. An invention used to build our homes, our furniture, came from the mind of a woman who received no credit and no reward. During the darkest days of World War II, a princess became a spy. Noor Inaya Khan, a descendant of Indian royalty, was a pacifist and a writer of children's books. But when the Nazis occupied France, she joined Britain's Special Operations Executive. Sent to Paris as a radio operator, the most dangerous job in the network, she became the critical link between the French resistance and London. As her network collapsed around her, with her comrades being captured one by one, she refused to abandon her post. For months, she was the only operator in Paris, a single vital lifeline. She was eventually betrayed, captured, and executed by the Gestapo. Her final word was liberté. She was a hero of the war, a woman of peace who became a warrior of the airwaves, her sacrifice almost lost to history. The Roman Empire was the most powerful force in the ancient world, seemingly unstoppable. But they met their match in Nubia, under the rule of a queen named Amanirenas. When the Romans tried to conquer her kingdom of Kush, the one-eyed queen personally led her army into battle. She didn't just defend her land. She went on the offensive, capturing Roman forts and, in an act of ultimate defiance, decapitating a bronze statue of Emperor Augustus and burying the head under the steps of her temple, so her people could forever trample on his image. After years of fighting, Rome was forced to negotiate a peace treaty, one that was highly favorable to Kush. Queen Amanirenas didn't just resist Rome. She defeated them, a stunning victory led by a warrior queen who made the world's greatest empire bend the knee. Have you ever used a Band-Aid? The concept of a ready-to-use sterile bandage was a game-changer. But one of its most important innovations came from a Swedish woman named Hedvig Andersson. In the early 20th century, she created what she called the invisible bandage, a transparent, waterproof plaster that protected wounds while allowing them to be seen. It was hygienic, practical, and ahead of its time. However, Her patent applications were repeatedly rejected, and her idea was later adopted and commercialized by others without any credit to her. She created a product that would save countless people from infection, a life-saving idea from a forgotten pioneer. In the early 20th century, most American homes were heated by wood or coal-burning stoves, which were inefficient, dirty, and dangerous. The solution, a modern central heating system, was patented by an African-American woman named Alice H. Parker. In 1919, she designed a furnace that used natural gas to heat a home, distributing warm air through ducts. It was safer, more efficient, and laid the groundwork for the central heating systems we all rely on today. Despite creating an invention that fundamentally improved the quality of life and safety in modern homes, her story is almost completely unknown. The first expedition to circumnavigate the globe was famously an all-male affair. Or was it? On that French voyage in the 1760s was a botanist assistant named Jean Barret, except Jean was actually Jean. Disguised as a man, Jean Barret endured the grueling journey to pursue her passion for botany, collecting thousands of plant specimens from around the world. Her identity was eventually discovered in Tahiti, but she completed the journey. She wasn't just a stowaway. She was a dedicated scientist who risked everything for knowledge. Jean Barret became the first woman to circumnavigate the globe, a secret pioneer who sailed into history hidden in plain sight. Where is the oldest university in the world? It's not Oxford or Bologna. It's the University of Al-Qarawiyyin in Fez, Morocco, and it was founded in 859 AD by a woman. Fatima al-Fihri, the daughter of a wealthy merchant, used her inheritance to build a mosque and an associated school, a madrasa, for her community. That institution grew into a center of learning for science, mathematics, and philosophy, and it is still operating today, nearly 1,200 years later. A woman with a vision and the resources to execute it founded the world's first degree-granting university, a beacon of knowledge that has shone for over a millennium. The discovery of the double helix structure of DNA is one of the most famous stories in science, credited to Watson and Crick. But their breakthrough was built on stolen data. The key piece of evidence was an X-ray diffraction image called Photograph 51, and it was taken by a brilliant chemist named Rosalind Franklin. Her image clearly revealed the helical structure of DNA. Without her permission, a colleague showed the photo to Watson and Crick. It was their eureka moment. They rushed to publish, barely mentioning Franklin's contribution. She died of cancer just a few years later, never receiving the Nobel Prize that she so clearly deserved for her critical role in one of history's greatest discoveries. We call her the grandmother of COBOL. Grace Hopper was a rear admiral in the US Navy and a computer science pioneer. In the 1950s, she believed programming should be more accessible. At the time, computers were programmed in complex machine code. Hopper had a radical idea. What if you could use English-like words to write code? She invented the first compiler, which translated human-like language into code a computer could understand. This invention paved the way for modern programming languages like COBOL and made the digital revolution possible for a much wider audience. She didn't just work with computers. She taught us how to speak to them. In medieval Salerno, Italy, a medical school was famous throughout Europe. One of its greatest figures was a physician known as Trotta. She authored revolutionary medical texts, particularly on women's health, offering pragmatic and humane treatments that were centuries ahead of their time. But as history was rewritten, her name began to fade. Male scholars took credit for her work, and some even argued that Trotta was not a real woman but a fictional name for a collection of texts. Her identity as a master physician, an innovator in gynecology, was systematically erased by the men who came after her. And finally, Artemisia I of Caria was one of the most extraordinary figures of the ancient world, a female naval commander who not only held her own among powerful kings and seasoned generals, but actually impressed Xerxes I, ruler of the Persian Empire. Leading her own fleet during the Greco-Persian Wars, she fought with a mix of bold strategy and ruthless decisiveness that shocked her allies and enemies alike. At the famous Battle of Salamis, she executed a daring maneuver, ramming an allied ship to escape pursuit that was so unexpected the Greeks assumed she must be on their side. Xerxes reportedly praised her courage above all his other commanders, declaring that my men have become women and my women men. In a world where warfare was almost entirely dominated by men, Artemisia's command of a naval force made her a near-mythic figure, remembered not just for breaking norms but for outsmarting some of the most formidable militaries of her time. If one video proves anything, it's this: genius has no gender, only forgotten stories. If you want more hidden history uncovered, subscribe and let's bring these lost legends back into the light.